Hey everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel God Will Do It For You. My name is Steven and I hope everyone's having a great week so far. It's about wrapped up. And what we're going to be talking about today is understanding why we can trust God and move forward in confidence. And the reason God put this particular subject on my mind is because I know sometimes we always hear that God is a God that cannot lie, but sometimes it's not explained. We just are told that, hey, the word in the Bible is true, God cannot lie. But let's actually dive into the Bible where it actually talks about this so we can understand why he cannot lie. So I'm going to go into Hebrews chapter 6, and we're going to start at verse 13, and I'm actually going to read down to verse 18, so bear with me. I'm going to read it slow, and it starts with the certainty of God's promise. So it says, For when God made a promise to Abraham, since he had no one greater by whom to swear, he swore by himself, saying, Surely I will bless you and multiply you. And thus Abraham, having patiently waited, obtained the promise. For people swear by something greater than themselves, and in all their disputes an oath is final for confirmation. So when God desired to show more convincingly to his heirs of the promise the unchangeable character of his purpose, he guaranteed it with an oath. So by the two unchangeable things in which it is impossible for God to lie. Now, what does this mean? So you know how when judges say, do you swear on oath? That's what God means. And when he swore to Abraham, he kept his promise. Also, other instances, he swore to David that, hey, David, your son is going to build my kingdom, which is Solomon. And even though David fumbled by messing with that soldier's wife, God still kept this promise. And that's what I mean by the unchangeable character, because that means just when God says he's going to do something, he isn't going to change his mind. He isn't going to change his mind. And that's the great thing about God, is because humans will change their mind based off of how they feel. If they say they're going to do something and the next day they're not feeling it, they can change their mind or the stipulations of what they promised you, thus therefore not being unchangeable. You want somebody that has an unchangeable character. That's why we serve God. It also states in Hebrews chapter 10, and we're going to go to verse 23. It says, Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And they're referring to God. Again, God is faithful in what he promises us. God will not turn his back on you. I just had someone the other day that rightfully so should have kept their promise due to circumstances that I'm not going to explain, just out of respect for just not liking to talk about anybody. And they said verbatim that I'm going to do this particular thing. I clearly saw that they weren't going to do it, but me just understanding life and understanding human flaw, and nobody's perfect, I just waited. Because one thing life has taught me is that we can put our hopes into people and people can let you down, but we can put our hopes into God and he would not let us down. And sure enough, that person did not keep their word. They were like, oops, I forgot. And so then they changed the stipulation of what they actually told me that they were going to do. And I said, don't worry about it. Keep it. Because one thing that I like to do is when people let me down or when life deals you a bad deck of cards, that's when I like to turn to God and be like, God, this is why I serve you, because I know that you won't let me down. I know that you won't lie to me. I know that you won't change your mind based off of me not being a perfect being. This is why we serve God. This is why the Bible's important. You know, when jobs look you up, they look at your resume because that's the only thing that they can go by, that they can build some type of trust by. And then they go a step further and say, well, how about some references so that way they can ask people about you? Well, guess what? God's resume is this Bible. Look how thick that resume is. Is our resume ever going to be that thick? It will not. God's resume is so thick and it's so true that there's nothing that we can't look up in his resume that shows that he will turn his back on you or go against his word. So that's why when you're going about life and when he says, my plans are to prosper you, believe it, because he made an oath He can't go back on his word. And even though there's no one greater to himself that can check him, he checked himself by making an oath and making sure that his character is unchangeable. So that way he says, no, when I say something, it's going to stick. The same thing when he says, my plans aren't to harm you, believe it. So if you're in a sticky situation in life and you're like, why is this happening? What is going on? Guess what? It's because his plans are to prosper you. He is trying to build you up to be something stronger than you ever thought that you could be. Because when that time period passes, you'll look back and be like, I don't know how I made it through. You want to know how? It's because God will never leave you or forsake you. And he's been with you the whole time. When I'm out here doing what I have to do, you know how good it feels to have the Holy Spirit inside of me saying, I'm with you. You're not alone. It's okay. Pray to God for strength. I'm with you. You're not alone. That constant reassurance. How many human beings would constantly do that if, I can't even explain it because you know what I mean. How many people can you count on that will be there for you like that no matter what? All you can do is say, I hope this person would be. You don't have to hope in God. All you have to do is move forward in confidence, knowing that he cannot lie and knowing that he will. I'm telling you this honest to heart. Like, God has never left us hanging. It don't matter what the situation look like. It don't matter how tired I've been. It doesn't matter because I'm like, you know what? All I can do is just keep thinking back with the resume God has built in my life for me and be like, every time I was like, I don't know how we're going to do it. But guess what? We made it and now we're months ahead. And I'm like, you know what? It just builds that confidence to keep moving forward, knowing that God is with you and that he's not going to leave you or forsake you, which again, that's a promise. And that his plans are to prosper you. That is a promise. These statements in the Bible are promises. But guess what? It takes faith. You have to believe in them. Because otherwise, this book isn't going to mean anything to you if you don't believe what's in it. It all starts with faith. It's the substance of things that you cannot see. You have to have faith. You got to believe. And you have to believe. You have to believe in a way that you're like, you know what? There's air out here. They call it air. We don't know what we're actually breathing in, but they call it air. But guess what? We know we're breathing, so we believe that we're actually breathing air. You have to believe like that I can't see it. And yeah, I may feel something coming across my body, but guess what? You can feel the Holy Spirit coming inside your body and in your mind and your soul. You can feel it. So you have to believe in a way that you don't need to see it. And that everything out here in this world is perfectly built. Animals, the way that they reproduce. Humans, how specific our bodies are. That it operates at a specific temperature. That it does specific things. The way cars are built. If one part is missing, it can make the whole car fall apart. The wrong part. Because I know you'd be like, well, I unscrew this screw and my car's not going to fall apart. So don't be technical with it. But you get what I'm saying. That everything out here is strategically built. Now, we're not talking about man-made, but the world and how it's orchestrated, how the land and how the sea, how everything coexists with one another and serves a purpose. That's because God built it. How we're perfectly at the proper distance from the sun that won't kill us. God built it. God built it. So when you believe like that, and when you have faith in his word and this thick resume of his, because I wish my resume was as thick, because it'd be hard to it'll never be that thick, because I'm limited in my abilities and in my time out here. God has been around since the beginning of time. You can't mess with that. You don't even have the jurisdiction to even try it. He kept his word with Abraham. Abraham waited patiently and he got the promised child. David messed up and he still kept his promise with Solomon. He kept his promise with Moses and others as well in the Bible. He gave Joseph the vision. That was a promise. How many people how many people do you talk to have visions like that? That's not a common thing, I promise you. When God puts something in you, it's for you. It's because he knows that you have the ability to do it. So then you get excited And then when he's like, all right, if I told you though what it's going to take to get there, you wouldn't do it. That's why he never tells us. That's why I love to give the car driving in the night analogy. Our headlights only have a limited view in sight as we're going forward. And we have to keep going forward to keep being able to see what's ahead of us. But we only have a limited view. But if we look behind us in the dark, you ain't going to see nothing. It's because what's behind you is what's behind you for a reason. It's not meant for you to have a full picture. You can remember, but it's not meant for you to be looking back, trying to see what's what. You need to keep looking forward, moving in confidence. Because when you're driving at night, you don't know what's in the road. You're just moving forward in confidence, hoping that nothing happens to you. So why not move forward in confidence with the same faith that God is with you, and that no matter how your circumstance looks, no matter how life gets you, that you know that everything is going to be all right at the end of the day. So my encouragement to you is to read this Bible. Again, it starts with the Bible. Read the Bible. Move forward in confidence, knowing that it's right there. I'm gonna, like I said, I always put in the description where I'm getting this information in the Bible, so that way you can check it yourself. I'm not just making this stuff up. It's right there. It's in the book. God gave us the blueprint on how to handle life, on why we should trust him. And then gave us a whole resume of people that made mistakes before us and why we shouldn't. So when we're like, we want wisdom and knowledge, it's right here. When we say we want to understand God, just read it. When we want to know why we should trust him, it's right here. It's all in there. He gave us the blueprint, but it's up to us to believe it. It's up to us to put in the work to read it, like we do in college and school and other things in life, the jobs. We give them our all. Why not give God just a little bit of that effort and watch how much it blows your mind of the God that we serve. So I hope this video is a blessing to you, because the channel's starting to grow. The numbers are starting to go up, and I'm just like, God, I hope that at the end of all of this glorifies your kingdom and we win as many souls as possible. Because, you know, I get emails and things like that, and I appreciate the thanks, but just always remember that I'm doing this because this is supposed to be a blessing for God's kingdom. So if it's helping you, I'm glad that it is. I'm glad that he's using me, and just know that I'm not going to stop. So y'all have a great day, and until next time.